Hello guys, this is the FTPdude and welcome again for another video in Epic 7. And today is gonna be a special video. So, since a lot of you asked me the stats of my units in the comments, I've decided to make an account review update, so you can see today's stats of all my units, and the last account review was like 3.5 months ago, so I'm gonna link it down in the description so you can see how much the account has changed in these 3 months. Now, for those who doesn't know, this is a 100% free-to-play account. I play from almost the beginning of the game, but I'm free-to-play from the start. So, all you're gonna see is gonna be in-game resources. So, that said, let's start with the review. And I'm gonna warn you again, you're gonna see some weird stuff, but it's all tested and it works, so believe. Anyway, I think the best way to build an account is to build a strong core of 2-3 units, and these are gonna be units that you are gonna use almost all the matches, and you build all the other units around that core. So in this way they are speed tuned correctly, they are interchangeable, and your picks are gonna be very flexible, and this is huge in RTA, because you can pick the right hero in the right spot. For my account, the first core is gonna be the Faithless Lydica, so I'm gonna start from there. And she's triple S, she's 291 speed, 119 effectiveness, and I finally get her to 83% crit chance, plus 16% from the artifact. She's gonna be at 99% crit chance, so she's gonna crit almost all the times, and she's gonna give me skill nullifier. And what I mean by she's my core, I mean all the other units are speed tuned with her, so they are all at 230 to 240 speed, so they can get a turn instantly after she S2. And the artifact is an important factor too, so you're gonna see soon. The second core of my account is the arbiter bildred, is my best damage dealer. He's 232 speed, because he's speed tuned with my Lydica. He's 4300 attack, 303 crit damage, and only 89% crit chance. The point is, I'm gonna use him almost all the times with the Faithless Lydica, so he's gonna get another 16% crit chance from her. And even if I don't use him with her, I have a 40% chance to get crit chance buff. So he's gonna crit almost all the times, and even if he doesn't crit one times or another, I don't lose, I don't care, cause he's gonna attack probably 2 or 3 times in a fight, so he's gonna do the job anyway. So this is my 2 core units, and from here on, we're gonna proceed from the top. So I'm gonna talk only about units that I use, so for example Holiday Yufin, I don't use her. Lilias, I only use her in green expeditions, and she's really good there. Surin, I use her only for the speed imprint, if the opponents commit in cleave, and she's 14 speed, so it's a huge imprint, and yeah, that's her only job. Bomb Model Kanna, she's insane in green expeditions, she's the best damage dealer possible, she do like 1 million damage in auto, so if you're having problem in a green expedition, I recommend her. Elfet, she's my best cleave units. Before the buff, I was using madechloe for the attack buff and more survivability, but after the buffs, she is insane in cleave. She can put defense break on all the enemy team, and she can put attack buff on your team, so that's a huge combo. And I try to draft her almost all the matches, and if they don't ban her, is almost GG always. So she's 252 speed, the speed is not that much important on her, I only need her to be faster than my damage dealers, so she can put the buffs, and she is 180 effectiveness, which is a lot. Because I want to put defense break even on things like Ruel or Troublemaker Creuset with a lot of effect resistance, and these do the job really well. She has insanely low damage, but I don't use her for the damage, because this way she can survive things like Carrion, for example, and I don't need her damage anyway, because I'm gonna cleave all the team at once, with RB or other damage dealers. Tenebria is another green expedition unit. I use her with the Etika Scepter, and she's just there to put defense debuff and the speed debuff. Tamarin, I use her in the green expedition, so the green expedition team is complete now, and I use her in all PVA content. I use her in Labyrinth, I use her in Banshee when I do that, and I use her in the expedition, so she's a PVA unit. Luna is one of my favorite units. She's a PV units, of course, and I use her almost everywhere. I use her in Labyrinth, I use her in Wyvern, and she's decently fast, with 303 crit damage and 3700 attack, so she hit really hard on the wyvern. And I use her with this special equipment because the 15% combat readiness is really good even in the fire expedition, so she's gonna get boosted a lot. I recently built my Secret. She's a wyvern unit and she has a lot of attack, a lot of crit damage and a decent speed, so she's just a wyvern unit. She's on Daydream Joker, she's on this exclusive equipment, so I can put debuffs more reliably. Rose, I use her only in the fire expedition, she's just the tank that was the attack and that's all the job. I recently built my Kisa, she's my second fastest unit, she's 287 speed, almost 4k attack and only 75% crit chance, which is gonna be 90 on fire units, and I'm using her with the symbol of unit, most of all because of the hit chance buff, because this way I can even try to reset things like Bazaar if I'm desperate, but usually she resets things like Fairy Tail Tenebria or Cerise, and she's on my third fastest equipment. But she's so fast that she's almost the same speed as my Lydica, so she's gonna probably reset the enemy combat readiness pusher, and she can also do a lot of damage with DS2 if they don't put her out of the stealth, so she can act as an initiator and even a third damage dealer, so yeah. Cerise, I totally stripped my Cerise. Flan, I really want to build this unit, so maybe you're gonna see some video on her in the next days. Seaside Bellona, I think it's the same of 3 months ago. She's just a solid unit, she has a lot of crit damage, a lot of attack, and she is 230 speed, so she is speed tuned correctly, and only 85% crit chance, cause I usually use her with the Lydica, and even if she doesn't crit, I don't care. She's on plus 21 Rengar specialty drink, of course, and the reason she's so fast is in cleaves she's gonna do the S3, and then she's gonna counter and do the S2, so she's gonna do a lot of area damage 2 times, but usually I prefer to use other units, but she's very strong in certain situations, like if the enemy is asking me to pick the SSB, like with Tisurin, Fallen Cecilia, Ravi and stuff like that. Yuna is on kind of a spare gear, I use her in the fire expeditions for the push, and I use her with the Infinity Basket to have a better chance to proc an attack and to do more damage, so she's only a fire expedition unit for me. Fairy Tail Tenebria is one of my speed contester, she's kind of decently speedy, 264 speed is not that much, but she have 193 effectiveness, so she has a lot of effectiveness, and she can also debuff things like Ruel or things with high defect resistance, and she's kind of a counter pick for me, because she has a lot of counters in RTA, like FCC, Ruel, Mulet Zeratu, they shut her down completely, and even all that counters to control like Mulet Bazaar or Mulet Lilibet, yeah, they just kill her, and she doesn't have a combat readiness push too, so that's another factor. So she's insane versus comps that cannot react to a lot of debuffs, so she's one of my best units anyway. She's on speed and hit set, so she's not on immunity, and that means if I draft her, I have to put another pusher with her, or I just have to be sure that I outspeed the enemy. Angelica, I use her from the beginning, she's so strong, I use her in PVA like almost every content, Labyrinth, Wyvern and so on, and yeah, she's pretty tanky, pretty speedy, and that's it. She's on Rodor Amaryllis plus 18, and yeah, she's a PvE unit. Falconer Clury, I use her in the water expedition, she's my tank, and she's kind of decently speedy, with a lot of effectiveness, so she's gonna put defense break reliably on the enemy, but for me is only an expedition unit, cause I have more effective initiator. Bildred is one of my best cleave unit, he's on triple S, 12 speed for all the team is a huge imprint, and I've improved his stats a little bit, he's 224 speed, so he's a lot faster, he has 4100 attack, 293 crit damage, and 93 crit chance, so he's almost maxed out on crit chance, so he's kind of spicy like this, and yeah, he has a blue piece of equipment, but this is super fast, so it's working like this, and I changed the artifact, I'm using Elia's knife now, because the other one was not maxed out, and I want to do as much damage as possible. So this is the artifact now, and I pretty much use him almost all the matches in the RTA. I only don't pick him if the enemy goes full fire, like Ras, Lilias and Ravi for example. And yeah, he plus Elfet are capable of one-shotting almost all the teams I found in RTA, so he's very strong, and he even help you get the first turn, so he is a very flexible unit. Seria is a Guild War unit for me. She's super fast, decent effectiveness, and her only job is to enable that corvus to kill almost every team in RTA. I use her on the Unseen Observer, so I can instantly enable the Dark Corvus and get the souls to burn the S3, so that's perfect for her with the combo. Landy, I ended up plus 15 her. I don't know why. I'm trying her with a counter build and she works sometime, but she's not speed tuned with my teams. She has decent damage, decent survivability, plus a Bloodstone, so she doesn't excel in nothing, and usually I just use her in Guild War against tanky teams, and she gives me some sustain too, so yeah, she works like this. Bazaar is one of my best units for a cleave. He's on my second fastest gear, and he's only 275 speed, because airbase speed is really low. It's like 106, so he's a lot slower than Faithless Lydica. He has 117 effectiveness, so I lowered the effectiveness, but I gave him the Tagal Ancient Book. So this way is a lot more flexible, because if I need, I can choose to burn the S3 of Bazaar, or I can choose even to burn the S3 of my Elfet if I need to put the defense break, or I can just save the burns for my cleavers. So he's very flexible like this, and usually 117 effectiveness is enough to push almost every units other than the effect resistance ones. And yeah, his main role is to strip everything and to push the enemy back so I can cleave properly. And he's really strong against FCC, so lately I'm not banning FCC anymore, because I can just use the Bazaar to dispel the immunity, and even if they ban my Bazaar, I can just end up banning the FCC, so it does the job anyway. And usually I even pick him before the Faithless Lydica, because he's a more contested unit, and even because of some mind games, because usually people pick the faster unit first, and a lot of people just ungear the Faithless Lydica, so they're probably gonna think the Bazaar is the faster one, and I can get the first turn more easily. And is even a problem for the Cerise teams, because even if Cerise S3 me, I can just push anyway, so people who pick Cerise usually just ban him anyway. Roana, I just use her in the Guild War. She has decent effect resistance, decent speed, a lot of defense and HP, and she's on Shimandra staff, and I usually use her with my Dark Corvus, so he's gonna get even 20% more effect resistance, and yeah. That's all the use. Ambitious Tywin. A lot of people just spam this unit. I don't pick him quite a lot. I use him on a speed effectiveness build. I use him as a control tank unit. He's on Adamant Shield. He's 232 speed, 111 effectiveness. So he's gonna put a lot of debuff on the enemies, and he has no damage. So I usually use him only to counter some things like Mullet Ball or Cerise and things like that, and sometimes in Guild War I use him to counter the strong meta teams like Tisurin, Landy and FCC, because once they do the first turn they have no immunity anymore, so you can chain stun them until they die. Watcher Shuri, I nerfed him quite a bit. He's on low attack and crit damage, decent speed, and I just use him with the speed imprint only when the enemy contests me hard in speed. So yeah, he cannot kill that much with that low attack. Siegebal is my favorite unit, look at him, and he's decently speedy, 255. He's one of my only units on immunity sets, and he has decent effectiveness, Abyssal Crown plus 30, a lot of HP, so he's pretty tanky, and usually I just use him to counter a seed, because even if the seed start, I just resist the pushback and I can take the turn. And yeah, he's another speed contester and stripper, so I can even use him in my cleaves, but he's really slow for a cleave team, and yeah, I'd end up just not using him quite much. Madechloe is one of my best units. is on my arena defense, and now she got a buff too. I raised a little bit her effect resistance with the gems, but I didn't change the equipment at all. So she's again on Wondrous Potion Vial, so I can counter single target debuff like Cerise Burn and Sun with DS2 or Falconer Clury, and I use her as an attack buff and to give more consistency to a team. So she's 241 speed, cause she need to go before my other damage dealers, cause they're gonna get attack buff and they're gonna cleave. She's a lot tanky, 19.5k HP and 16k defense, and yeah, decent effect resistance. And from when they buff the Elfet, I'm just using Elfet instead of madechloe, because with the Elfet cleave are just more strong, and I use her only to counter really tanky teams, like when they pick 3 knights, so in that case I can use her instead of the Elfet. Apocalypse Ravi, I nerf her a little bit, just cause I needed the equipment for my Archdemon Shadow, and I don't use her that much. She's decently speedy, decently tanky, she has decent damage, but she's not speed tuned with my team. So yeah, I only use her to counter cleave teams if I don't think I can outspeed them, but usually I don't use her. Her Corvus is my beast for the Guild Wars. I use him almost every Guild War. He's a lot tanky and he has on 161 effect resistance. So with the Rohan artifact he can resist a lot of debuffs. And yeah, I usually pair him with the Syria, and I put him on the portrait cause this way I can even one-shot things like Ruel or Riolet even if I miss. With the burn I think it's like 26k damage, so probably nothing is gonna survive that. My martial artist can, finally I make this guy work. He has a lot of effect resistance, 225, he's on full effect resistance and is triple S. He has decent damage, decent defense and decent HP. He's super slow and he's on plus 24 Sigurd Sight, so he's gonna gain a little bit of HP back, but usually he slowly die anyway. And use him to counter things like the Cerise, RB and Destiny, because he's gonna resist anything and he's gonna just kill the RB and then kill the other two. But in RTA it's really hard to use him properly. He just died too fast to Frenzy, so he's not that good in RTA now. And Cecilia, finally, she's on Speed Immunity set, one of the few units with my Moonlight Ball that have immunity set, and she's super fast, 235 speed, she has decent defense and HP, and she's on Horus, of course. So the reason she's faster than my other damage dealers is, for example, if I go against an RB, I can just put Skill Nullifier and then kill the RB, so I'm gonna take no damage once he's revived. So I try to make her as fast as possible and in the same time have a lot of HP, so I can gain the benefit of the shield. And she's on B imprint, so there's a lot of room of improvement here. Rare Witch Syria is one of my best damage dealers. She's 235 speed, 3800 attack, 262 crit damage, and she has B imprint, so I can make her hit even harder. She's on Portrait of the Savior, because she's faster than my other damage dealer, so she's gonna go first, and she's gonna do a lot of damage with the S1 and even with the S2. So basically I pair her with a pusher and an attack buff, so she can hit super hard, and she goes before the other damage dealers to counter things like Lina, so she dispel all the buffs, and then my RB is gonna cleave. Operator Secret, I got her lately in a Moonlight Summon session, that was crazy, go look at that, and she is one of my pushers now. She is very good against FCC, not much cause of the S2, but rather the S3, cause I can strip the immunity anyway, so I can put the defense debuff with my Elfet. So that's why I use her, and I use her with decent effectiveness and a Quartz Compass, so I can get as much effectiveness as possible, because this is the better I can get her now, and she is not that much fast, she's the same speed as Bazaar, and yeah, that's her job. She can even put attack buff on the team, so she can do 2 jobs at the same time, and that's really powerful. My Archdemon Shadow, I love her so much. I'm not using her quite a lot lately, and she is 232 speed, 15k HP, 17k defense, and 78 effectiveness, and she's on a counter set and Lela Violin. I think that's the only artifact you can use on her, because immunity just crush her, so you need to strip if the enemy has immunity. And I usually use her in cleaves too, to counter things with passives like Tisurin, Charon, Arbiter Bildreds, and so on. So she's decently fast and she can go before my Bildred, and that's a 50-50 on who goes with my Arbiter Bildred, because she has the same speed as him, and she's super RNG reliant, because if you don't put the seal at the right time, you just lose the fight sometimes, but when she works, she's super strong, and she can just shut down team completely alone. Auxlot, I use him in the water expeditions, and yeah, that's his only use. He's super slow, and he's on Spirit Breath, so I can cycle DS2 pretty fast. And yeah, Sidom, I'm not using her that much lately, because the enemy can just punish you with Politis or Celine, so she's a very risky pick. She has decent attack, a lot of crit damage, and she is decently speed, so when I really need to use her I can, but I prefer to not use her. Spectre Tenebria, I just go there with the cigarette, and she's already plus 15, she's on Proof of Valor, and I'm using her with a speed set, really speedy, with as much damage as possible, but she's really squishy, and she doesn't do that much damage. I'm actually trying her in my Guild War defense, but I'm gonna see what I can do with her. She's not optimal at the moment. And lastly, my Sinful Angelica. Use her in arena attack to cleave things with Arby, and yeah, that's a rolly job. So yeah guys, that's it. That are all the stats of my units, and all the units I use. So let me know if you have some suggestions, and let me know if you like the video, and thank you so much for all the support guys. We are at more than 300 subscribers already, thank you so much, and yeah, I hope you liked the video guys, and I'll see you on the next one, so bye bye!